This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's the week of August 14th, 2020. It's halfway through August, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, it's Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Austin, Texas, author, podcaster extraordinaire, Jamie
thank
Ivey.
you. Thank you for that. Hey, guys.
And from Nashville, Tennessee, artist, producer, entrepreneur, mogul, Derek Miner.
What up, dude? You know what I'm saying?
We have a great show in store for you today. Coming up later, we talk to Jesse. Get ready for it. Get ready. DeVon Franklin is on the show.
He brings it. He brings the thunder.
And I can tell you this. Tyler just finished the interview, and he told me how inspiring it was. Like, he was like, man, he brings it this week. So
I'm telling you.
There you go. All right. And also, we're joined by Jennie Lusko. She has a new book out called Fight to Flourish. And she's now officially bestseller, Jennie Lusko. I just heard.
Wow. Congratulations.
Congrats to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Before we get the show going, though, I gotta, last week I told the listener a little theater of the mind about Derek Miner's tank top. Right. This week, I need the audience to know what I'm looking at. Jesse is in some sort of solarium high up in the mountains.
It's my mountain home.
And a minute ago, Derek Miner was like he was just switching through. Like
now
he was doing the interview at the
beach.
office.
I moved to my beach gazebo. Okay, so I was in. You guys, listen. Everyone who listens to this. Zoom has just become a part of life, right? Like one day we all just woke up, and one of the weird consequences of all of this is we all were using, like, I don't even know if I ever used Zoom before I was like aware of it, but I never really, there was all these, it was just Zoom is here and this is what we're all doing now. Okay. We're all Zooming.
Right.
And none of us really took the time to just figure it out. I mean, we've all been doing the same thing is, hey, send me a Zoom link. You click on the link and you're talking. That's all we do. No one's ever tinkered with it. People are beginning to tinker. I was in a Zoom meeting the other day, and I'm actually going to go to the background that I saw. Okay, I was in a Zoom meeting the other day, and I'm gonna sit straight forward for you guys. Okay, so if my microphone, we're recording a podcast here, so I have a microphone that's kind of throwing off the technology. I'm going to sit straight forward for 1 second, and I'm gonna give you guys a look at what my Zoom partner looked like. Okay, so it looks like he is in a well-furnished high-rise apartment. And I was probably halfway through the call, and I almost said something like, dude, that is a dope pad you had there. Like I almost said that and made a fool of myself, because the other thing too is when you're Zooming, you're Brady Bunch style. Everyone's cubed up in the screen. So they're pretty small visual areas, right? So you're not like inspecting them closely. Right. So anyway, it was about halfway through and I was like, oh dude, that's some sort of like custom background. So the other night, I was just goofing around and I was like, I should go ahead and get a couple so I can look super professional. And I went to, and this is, where some businesses see obstacles, others see possibilities. So West Elm, like the furniture company, went ahead and like just made a bunch of Zoom backgrounds based with like really dope places with their furniture in it. So there is I can now Zoom from a virtual mountain house, from a virtual beach house. Right now I'm in my high rise apartment, and I'm just not going to tell people. I am just going to make them think that I have some sort of palatial mansion that is somehow geographically stretches to different regions across the country, depending on what corner of the house we're in. I'm taking the time to use Zoom to really knock some people's socks off.
I'm just going to be honest. I don't know if I have a dirty mind, but just the titles and the way you were saying, like the way we're zooming and the way I zoom, it sounds like some futuristic drug from like a old 90s Sylvester Stallone movie. Like,
oh, those were good movies, by the way.
They tried to stop the bad guys from selling Zoom on the street. Like, I don't know. Did it feel like that to y'all, or maybe I'm just a pop culture icon?
Zoom backgrounds are the new drug, Derek. I am addicted to these, and
my only experience with these virtual backgrounds is for the last couple of weeks, I've been able to be one of those virtual fans for the Orlando Magic games, and they use Microsoft Teams. That their software platform. They don't use Zoom for the games. But like you go into it and you have 20 people sitting in your section, and it's just 20 people basically Zooming, and then they put you in the seats. Like they change out your background and it looks like you're sitting in the seats.
That's what I was going to ask.
I was wondering too.
How is that working? Is it just you have to have a certain type of chair, or because it looks like the chair and the background is exactly the same? Like that's some really good green screen for real.
That's what I'm saying.
It's basically like this,
So it is this. So Jesse joined me for the game yesterday.
Yeah.
He was a virtual fan as well. And so he knows you're just sitting there. We're not doing anything special. And all of a sudden, like it perfectly takes you out and puts you in the arena. It's really amazing. Although there was one glitch on my section yesterday. There was a kid sitting 2 seats down from me that had the laptop like on his coffee table, and he was sitting on his couch, and the whole couch was on the feed. So it looked like the kid brought a couch to the game.
Baller status.
Because he was sitting like cross leg up on the couch. So it just got the whole couch. And it was really funny because then the people sitting next to him were like, could see it, and they were virtually like laying their head on the couch too and stuff. It's funny, but all right. Well, moving the show along, it is time for our weekly look at what's happening at the intersection of faith and culture. It's time for
It's the hot list. The hot list. It's sizzling.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Relevant Senior Editor Tyler Huckabee. Hey, Tyler.
It is sizzling this week.
It's mid-August, man. Everything's sizzling.
Oh yeah, it's hot outside.
Just when you think things can't possibly get hotter, they get hotter. They just like it is mercury rising every week. And
is it bad there in the Loverlands of Virginia?
Like temperature wise, it's been pretty hot, but I mean, we actually.
You're just talking about culture.
I'm just talking about culture. Like every time we come in with a hot list, it's like, oh boy, there's no way we're topping Jerry Falwell with his pants unbuttoned. Like, and then next, but like
we should do an update.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of which, I know the hot list, and this is not on the list, so we should say, since we spent half the show last week talking about Liberty University. The day that the podcast came out on Friday, it was announced. Tyler, take it away.
It was announced that the board had agreed with Falwell to put him on indefinite hiatus. He's taken an indefinite leave of absence as the leader of Liberty University, which is a pretty big deal. We don't really know what it means. Like, an indefinite hiatus can look like a lot of different things, obviously. Since that time, there has been a collective of Liberty students and faculty, staff, and alumni who have come together, started a new website calling for his permanent removal and asked for a new leave. They've even put together a timeline of his many scandals, which is that was no mean feat to get all those together. So they're calling for that, but we don't know that that's going to be the case. They have a new interim leader. In the meantime, a board member is taking his place, at least temporarily. But what this means for the future of Liberty or Falwell remains to be seen.
It was interesting to see the online reaction after we posted this. The majority were like, "This is the right move for Liberty. We're proud of the board for taking action." Then there was this chunk of people saying, "Doesn't this seem like an overreaction? Like he's getting for that photo, that requires it." And people were replying to those respondents saying, this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah. Like this was not the totality of why this action was taken. It was just the most recent thing in a long string of things. So it's a very interesting situation, and we'll, keep you all abreast of it. But so considering we gave so much airtime to the situation last week, I figure we should probably update it.
It was a whole week ago from the time people will be hearing this, but we should. But due diligence, that's the update that we have right now. And for all we know, it could have changed again by the time his indefinite leave could be over by the time this podcast is posted. Actually,
my goodness.
Let's not.
The news cycle's moving fast. That's all I'm saying.
But we're kicking off with, you want to talk about hot news? Oh my goodness, this is we're leading off on the right foot. Do you all remember, Jesse? I know you do, but I'm wondering if the rest of you remember it too. The last year there was a fan-made fake trailer for a hypothetical dark, gritty reboot of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah,
it was as though Christopher Nolan took it to. Because if you look at the premise of the show, it actually is a dark context. Gritty urban life, got into trouble, had to go to California
Kid,
just to make it, fish out of water, the tension of wealth and being true to yourself. I mean, the whole thing really has a dark undertone to it, a seriousness.
My friend Seda was in that. Shout out Seda K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
See, I wanted to get to that because that is, let's circle back on that because that is, I want to talk about the people who were involved in this. It was all put together by this amateur filmmaker named Morgan Cooper, who lives in Kansas City. And it was just sort of one of those internet goof things. You get your buddies together and say, let's make this fun little 3-minute video thing. Actually, I think, Clark, we have a little clip from that. Why don't you play that?
See, for some reason you think this is a game. This is not a game, Will. Look at you. Look at you. The only reason why you're not in jail is because Uncle Phil called in a favor.
And it goes on from there, right?
I want to see this movie.
Well, so the movie, you, and you're not the only one because this went viral. We covered it actually, Desi. I think you wrote about it on Relevant website at the time that it came out, and it caught the attention of a guy by the name of Will Smith. And Will was so interested in this idea and this like gritty remake that he called up Morgan Cooper. They started meeting, and now this is going to be an actual show. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is getting a gritty, serious, dramatic reboot. It's going to be called, right now, working title is just Bel-Air. And there's a bidding war for it. It looks like Netflix, HBO Max, and FX are all interested, trying to get it. They're trying to shell out some money for this. And I think, well, I want to hear that. So that's the news. That's really about all we know right now. Will is on as executive producer, along with the original executive producer, Quincy Jones, is also back.
Wow.
And this, he's back to help produce it. And Cooper has been, which doesn't always happen, but he has been brought on. He will be writing and directing and show running this as well. So it's cool that this little amateur thing he put together actually has ended up with him having a job for what's probably going to be one of the hottest TV commodities of when it comes out. So that's the bare facts. That's what we know right now. What do y'all think?
The crazy thing to me is the idea that you could take this silly sitcom from the 90s and do a gritty, dramatic reboot. But if you look at like the 1960s campy Batman and look at Christopher Nolan's interpretation, like it's the same thing. It works. It will work. What the heck just happened? Did you see that? Like all the lights on my house just like started going crazy.
I feel like well, just behind the scenes for everyone, his electronics in his home just started acting off on their own, and I feel like we're in one of those new Zoom horror movies that are coming out. They just shoot it all through Zoom. And it's like, hey, what's going on, man? Oh, nothing. And there's like a creepy figure in a robe, like walking by. Like, is there a druid in your house?
I spoke the name Christopher Nolan, and all my lights started flickering.
Three times, and time moves backwards in your house.
Two quick things. One, we obviously have our question of the week established very early in the show. What sitcom do you want to see have a gritty reboot, and who should star in it? Two, I can't wait to hear feedback on that. Two, the only thing, I won't say the only, but for me, the major thing that doesn't hold up in the original Fresh Prince, I occasionally will like come back to it, watch clips or something because I really liked it when I was a kid, is the basketball scenes. The production team made zero effort to even make it look like a real basketball court. They're playing on 6-foot rims. It's not even a 3/4 court. And the basketball is absurd. I do think, like to Cameron's point, that was the time in the age of sitcoms where they would basically just kind of phone in stuff. It was almost, I mean, those 3-camera sitcoms from that era, and this isn't an indictment on the Fresh Prince because like I said, I think it's a real institution that's really held up well. But a lot of those sitcoms from that era were basically stage plays that were shot on 3 cameras. It was very limited sets. The production was very limited, and it was just characters kind of walking into a room, shooting it from different angles and talking, where the approach to TV, and especially a lot of those FX series, have big set pieces and are single camera. And I even just to see the production value elevated, I think would be really interesting.
Can I say this though? HBO Max came out, and HBO Max has the Fresh Prince on it. And after I watched like the one show on HBO Max that I was interested in, I started like clicking around in their archives. And like last week, I was like, I'm just going to go back into the Fresh Prince and see if it holds up, you know? So I kind of jumped around, right? It totally holds up. But I'll tell you this, that finale is one of the best moments in television history still. Mm-hmm. Like the final moments of the finale move you like they moved you in 1996 when they happened. You know what I mean? Like it is so good. And if you have HBO Max, go watch it. It's worth watching.
A lot of those like black sitcoms were amazing. The Jamie Foxx show was crazy.
Yep.
Freaking the Martin was crazy.
That's my fave.
Martin was legendary. Like those guys are legends for a reason. Like Martin, Jamie Foxx, Fresh Prince, like all those guys made some legendary things, man. It was very culturally progressive in my perspective, you know.
Right.
Sure. Jamie, if you had to have one sitcom, you know, from back in the day be rebooted, what would you choose? I'm very curious.
I mean, we used to watch everything on Friday nights. What was it called?
TGIF.
TGIF. I mean, we would watch all those sitcoms and you had to be there when it happened. You can't watch it later. You got to be there and don't run to the restroom or you're going to miss something. I mean, I love Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but Cameron, I don't remember the finale. I'm sitting here thinking like, I don't know. I don't remember it. My friends and I used to watch
Uncle
Martin
Phil
a lot.
And Will, they have the final moment, and Will's staying in LA, and the family's moving away, and so it's a father-son. Oh my goodness! It's just if you're a guy and you have a dad, you're crying. I mean, it is, or don't have a dad. I mean.
Well, what about the moment when Will meets his dad his dad like comes back and then his dad walks out on him and Uncle Phil, I was like 9 years old, just eating Cheetos on the couch. And all of a sudden my whole emotional world is getting turned upside down. I wasn't ready for that.
Jamie, man. I the only thing, like, guys, I love TGIF too. And it was like appointment viewing at my home growing up. And I watched a lot of TV growing up anyway. But like, I'm trying to think how any of those shows would hold up as gritty reboots. And the first one that comes to mind is like, like very problematic. Like, one, Family Matters. It's like, this is just a show about bullying the nerd next door. Like, this is not okay. This is like a bully, or like Perfect Strangers. We're just making fun of like a foreigner. Like, that's the whole crux of the show.
You know what? Full House could be done like This Is Us, like super dramatic. Mom's dead.
Parenthood.
The family's trying to raise the kids, or Parenthood, right? It could be done like that. The one I would like to see is Perfect Strangers. In the era of immigration and Middle East immigrants and stuff like that, Cousin Balky being like a gritty, like, you know, I just think after 9/11, Perfect Strangers plays different.
I don't remember that show. I don't even know what it is.
Cousin Larry and Balky.
Balky was the man.
I would watch a Hanging with Mr. Cooper reboot.
Yeah.
Remember
what's
Hanging with Mr.
gritty
Cooper?
about that? What's the undertone though?
It would be like
he's in the Bay. That's what's gritty about it. First of all,
it would be like remember Coach Carter?
Yeah.
Remember Coach Carter with Sam, like where he's like a basketball coach, but he's also like a teacher and mentor. And Mark Curry, I thought was hilarious back in the day. I think that'd be. I don't know.
I just watched. I don't know if you watch on Netflix some of the sports documentaries, but Last Chance U I mentioned a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. The current season is about Laney College, the community college that's been a long time in the center of Oakland, and they followed the team. And what's interesting about Laney is they don't offer scholarships in California in JUCO schools, so kids got to pay their own way. The athletes have to pay their own way. They got to provide their own housing, and then play. And they're in the middle of Oakland. And with the gentrification of the Bay Area, literal football players are sleeping in their cars. Like they're homeless because they can't afford to live there anymore. And so half the series is talking about the changing community and the role of the college, how it's affecting the college, the livability of the area and stuff, and how Oakland, because it's all Oakland kids. and how, one kid is having to drive in 2 hours because his family had to move 2 hours out of Oakland where he grew up, and he drives in 2 hours every day to just be able to go to college and stuff. It's crazy. Dude, you mentioned Oakland, dude. That would be
a good show.
Hanging with Mr.
crazy.
Cooper today would be nuts. Yeah.
It'd be insane. Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Can I deviate from like actual news reporting to just this may not even make the final cut, but this is a very surreal experience for me as somebody reporting on this story. I went over to Morgan Cooper, the guy who came up with this. I went over and I was just browsing through, like going through the tweets, trying to find any interesting personal info. And just a few weeks ago, you remember that we all had the childhood best friend, the brother in arms, the guy you were inseparable from, right? Everybody had one of those people. Sure. And he just last month, he gave Micah Brown, my number one kid that I grew up with. He's shouting him out on Twitter. Apparently, they're super close friends. So proud of my guy Micah, one of the most talented, hardworking people I've ever met. To come across that while looking at this story was a very surreal, upside down. What's real? What's not? Maybe this is Tenet. Maybe this is sort of the idea behind Tenet. I don't totally know what the plot of Tenet is, but it threw me for a really weird loop.
Yeah,
that
the
is
internet
weird.
sliding doors. Yeah,
sliding door situation.
Wasn't there? I mean, I heard through the grapevine that a bunch of the people involved in doing that film, that indie film last year, this Will Smith reboot, were believers. Like they're involved in worship or something. Yeah,
Derek, you said one of them, right?
Yeah, Seda. I think Seda played Hillary. And yeah, she's a believer. She's actually, shameless plug, she's actually signed to our label. We distribute her music, but she's they have a whole thing. They're all believers. They're all, and it's a good group of people. So to see that this happened for them, it's dope. I hope they carry the cast, but you never know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But even if they get one or two people out of in it, it'd be dope. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, definitely.
A lot of them were well cast, but I could see a different Uncle Phil. Just FYI, I didn't connect with him. He wasn't intimidating enough for me.
But the guy who was Will was good.
Oh,
he really looked the part of so that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Move on. So the next story here, and this is just we're going into buckle up. We're getting political. So going to the world of politics, but I think this will be a pretty, just some talking points. Earlier this week, of course, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden made history when he picked Kamala Harris to be his running mate. She's a first-generation immigrant. She's the daughter of an Indian woman and a Jamaican man. They met as grad students at Berkeley, actually. So she's not only the first Black woman on a major party ticket, but also the first South Asian American woman as well. And I just wanted to give she has kind of an interesting faith background, in addition to just a very diverse family background that I thought would be worth bringing up here because it is sort of unique. So her family is evidently, most of her family is still in India. She visits them quite a bit growing up, and they are Hindu. Her name, Kamala, is Sanskrit. It's a name of a Hindu deity, but Harris herself was raised in the Black church. She wrote actually an essay for Bustle about a neighbor that she grew up with, Regina Shelton, who took her and her sister Maya to church every Sunday. She wrote in the essay, sitting alongside her, I was introduced to the teachings of the Bible. My earliest memories are of a loving God, a God who asked us to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves and to defend the rights of the poor and needy. This is where I learned that faith is a verb, something we must live and demonstrate through our actions. So today she considers herself a Black Baptist, member of the Black Baptist Church. She's married to a guy named Douglas Emhoff. He's a Jewish man, so an interfaith marriage. Also worth noting that she's had some moments of controversy in her faith. She was criticized for not taking enough action on the Catholic Church's abuse scandal when she was first the district attorney for San Francisco and also as the California Attorney General. Spokesman for the victims of the abuse, a guy named Joey Piscoletti, said he couldn't get a response from her office when he tried to urge them to release records on abusive clergy. She's defended her record over that. She released a statement saying that she's been a staunch advocate on behalf of sexual assault victims, especially child sexual assault victims. She says she's used her position as DA to create the first unit focused on child sexual assault cases in the office's history. Now, that's true, but it's also true that it seems like people like victims of the Catholic Church abuse scandal have had some real issues with how her office dealt with some of the fallout of that abuse scandal. So that could be something that could come up during the course of this campaign. She frequently invokes the parable of the Good Samaritan. It's a favorite story of hers. It comes up in a lot of stump speeches that I've found. She spoke at the Poor People's Campaign last year, and she said that the reason she likes it so much is because it helps her understand what a neighbor is. She says, a neighbor is not about having the same zip code. What we learn about in Jesus' parable is that neighbor is someone you are walking by on the street. A neighbor is about understanding and living in service of others, that we are all each other's brothers and sisters. So that's sort of the initial little bit of background on her faith story that I was able to find looking around online.
I'm curious how much the faith angle is going to be, talked about in this election.
I'm just worried about God getting hurt. I mean, I've heard rumors that one candidate is out to hurt God and the Bible. I mean,
he's vulnerable.
That's the buzz. That's the buzz I'm hearing.
I never knew that she was. I never knew that she had a Southeast Asian ancestry or background. So that's.
I didn't either.
I actually think that's amazing that she's broke so many barriers in the sense of a woman of color, and then in an interracial marriage, interfaith marriage. Like she has so much intersectionality, which is dope because it really kind of that's what when I think of America, that's what I think of. I think of all these different backgrounds coming together.
And the first candidate that went to a historically black college and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, first HBU.
Yeah,
absolutely. So. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. As far as politically, the fear, I think, is just, man, we're so polarized. I don't know what it's like, what in the world? I don't know what ticket you could put together that could rival, just because the thing with Trump, like him or love him, he's always on brand and always on message, and it's clear who he's talking to, and they're always galvanized. But I did see a tweet yesterday that said, don't let Kamala Harris and Joe Biden distract you from the fact that we're voting for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. So I don't know if that's enough to propel that over Trump.
I mean, I think the one thing I've kind of seen about, her past and her legacy is, she was a federal prosecutor. I mean, her job was to
12.
Her job was to, put people in prison. And look, this is not an indictment on prosecutors. That in the criminal justice system, each side needs to have some sort of legal representation. But when it comes, because justice reform, I feel like, is going to be at the forefront. I mean, obviously that ultimately, reforms to the criminal justice system are largely responsible for a lot of, the protests that we've been seeing around the country is a call for criminal justice reform. So I'll be interested to see, what her policies are when it comes to criminal justice reform, because, like I said, this is an indictment on the job. It's more of a commentary on the system, but this is someone who was a prosecutor, who is going to be, hold the second highest office in the country at a time when the rallying cry for a lot of these protests are around ultimately reforms to law enforcement and the criminal justice system. So
I have seen, though, this week, racial justice activists saying, hey, we were very critical of her record as, prosecutor in California. But since 2011, she has shifted her views, her statements, her policies, and her record has evolved immensely since that time in her career. And that these activists were saying she's among the top 4 legislators, like the top 4 that are activating for racial justice reform, racial justice issues, equality, and things like that. So, I mean, people can change. you know?
Yeah,
Right.
certainly. It's just an interesting dynamic. Jamie, what were your thoughts?
Well, no, I was just listening to the Daily this morning from New York Times, and they were talking about it and talking about one of the things that she brings to the table for the campaign would be that she has this kind of prosecutor go after people, don't take any names, and get stuff done, which she can bring against the current administration. They were saying that about her, that she was going to be good at bringing that to the table for the election year.
Honestly, like if we're talking like debate or whatever, I'd rather it be like Kamala versus Trump rather than Joe versus Trump, because I just think Trump's gonna wipe the floor with Joe, because Joe he seems like he's hard to formulate his thoughts really quick, but Kamala is like, she's like zoomed in.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. Joe Biden, he's going to be if he were elected, the oldest, president. And so I think that's been something their campaign is really looking to, like, okay, so we need to have someone who can actually take things over if this were to go south.
My thought would be that she's going to be like House of Cards. She's going to be the most powerful vice president in history. In
Probably
the sense
since
that
Cheney.
She won't be a figure role or figurehead. She'll literally be involved. Carrying a lot of the load for Biden. My thought is that this is an interesting pick, because like a lot of people were saying, like if he went more progressive with his running mate, it would say one thing. He went centrist with his running mate, and that they're trying to go after the middle of America. They're trying to go after the suburbs, soccer moms. They're trying to go after that kind of like Reagan Democrats back in the 80s, that kind of like people who will span the line or cross the aisle for, kind of like common good, common sense, not partisan. That's what they're trying to do. That like the fringes are not happy with this, like on the right and the left, but that they don't care about the fringes. They're going after the middle. And it's an interesting play in a very, as you said, Derek, as in a very partisan era. They're kind of trying to say, let's get back to normal. They're trying to pivot away from the extreme left and the extreme right with this ticket.
Which is,
so we'll see.
It makes it hard to blast Democrats as anti-cop. Kamala is a cop. She's
a law enforcement
She's a prosecutor.
Yeah.
So it takes out one of the big attacks.
And you can't say like the Republicans are Christians and the Democrats are these heathens, when both of the people on the Democratic ticket, especially Biden, I mean, he has Ash Wednesday Ash on his head every year. I mean, like they're involved in their faith.
But people like that, people don't care. Like Obama said he was a Christian for the longest, and that just because of his name, they called him a Muslim, and then they started attacking his pastor or whatever, so because of, I think that's black liberation theology or whatever. So I don't think people really, think they really care, but I do think with Tyler, I think for sure the defund the hope, because the whole thing about Biden so far, every ad I've seen from Trump is, Joe Biden wants to defund the police, and you're gonna call 911 and no one's there. I'm like, now you're gonna call 911 and Kamala's there. Like, yo, what up? I'm like, how you gonna spin this one?
It's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be interesting, dog.
And just for the listeners to be aware, we don't typically cover politics. We're faith, culture, life, justice, but obviously it's an election season, so we want you all to be informed. We want to talk about issues that we believe are faith-focused issues. They're not left or right issues. They're like, hey, the Bible talks about immigration. The Bible talks about the least of these. The Bible talks about stands that believers should take. And some are on the left and some are on the right, and we need to wrestle with that. So we will talk about politics from that framework, but we aren't going to be like anti any candidate. If you support Trump because of Supreme Court wanting to overturn Roe v. Wade, we get it. And if you support Biden because you think that, foreign policy and immigration policy needs to be more focused on life and human dignity, we get it. It's not about, we don't care. Honestly, Relevant doesn't care who you vote for. We just think that we need to be having the right conversations, And
I'm about to turn into Bill O'Reilly. That's just what it is. It's going down on this joint every day. We bring in politics. Y'all about to be mad.
I'm terrible for our ratings. We need to be really, Tyler. We need to be way more extreme, man. We need better ratings. So.
It's time to crack it up, man. I'm about to go call Candace Owen.
I'm sleeping on the spiciest takes, but I'll bring it. I can do it. I can do it. You won't like
y'all gonna start calling me Cameron Owen. That's what y'all gonna start calling me.
So, speaking of spicy takes,
one last story. Now, this will be a really interesting one to get into, but we're going to get into it. I was telling Cameron, actually, I don't think I've ever had more people reach out to me saying, when are y'all going to talk about this, than I have this story. So we're doing it. I listen to the listener. We hear you. We stand with you. We're going to report on this. We're going to talk about a guy by the name of Sean Foyt. He is somebody who has been on Relevant. He's actually been on this podcast before.
He also was roommates with Jesse.
Jesse, I believe you all have a friendship.
We weren't roommates, but I have known him. We did, I've known him since we've been 15 years old, into youth
That's
group
what
together.
It was. You're back in Virginia. So we had him on the podcast. He's a worship leader now with Bethel. And so he had a new project coming out, and we had him come on because Jesse's known him since they were kids.
Yeah, we I played in his worship band when we were kids, and I say kids, teenagers, and we went to college together. So I've known him for a very, very long time.
And this story isn't necessarily going to paint him in the most flattering light, but it is, because he is somebody that we've offered our platform to in the past. I think it's also important that we cover what he's doing right now. What's going on? So he was a former congressional candidate. Actually, he ran in the midterms in 2018. In the past couple of weeks, he's been traveling across the U.S. holding large outdoor worship gatherings in defiance of local restrictions to flatten the COVID-19 curve. Just on last Saturday, a crowd of thousands, according to him, gathered to sing worship songs in Portland, Oregon, for an event called Riots to Revival. Local news reports said that most were not wearing masks and flouted social distancing measures. Video that Foyt posted showed the same thing as well. In interviews and on social media, Foyt has been vocal about his feelings on state-mandated social distancing guidelines and how he sees them as unfairly targeting houses of worship. He told Fox News, quote, "It's a double standard. I'd say at best it's hypocrisy and at worst it's bigotry. There's a target on churches." Foyt also went on Twitter to dub the White House's coronavirus task force member, Dr. Anthony Fauci, as, quote, "America's high priest of wokeness." Now, we need to note here that Foyt has been previously associated with Bethel, obviously the very influential Redding, California church that we've had many members from on here over the years. Last month, following one of Foyt's outdoor events in Redding, the church posted a statement explaining that the event was, quote, "not hosted or sponsored by Bethel Church." They did note that Sean and his family are valued attenders of the church, where he is a volunteer worship leader. To our knowledge, the event did include various community members, pastors, and church attenders from many local congregations in Shasta County, including individuals from Bethel. But they also said that, quote, "concerns were shared with Sean, and while they had been told that there was a plan in place for safety, quote, the plan did not get implemented to the level it needed to be at this gathering, and that is something that should have been addressed more seriously. Now, more than ever, it's important for the entire community to carefully consider decisions and actions made as we seek to love and respect our neighbors. We share in the concerns of risk and potential negative impact that these events could have on the recovery and reopening of Shasta County as we navigate COVID-19. So that's sort of the broad overview of what's happening here. Foyt has so far continued. He's still traveling across the U.S. hosting these events. Does not seem terribly concerned about Bethel's statement or other people who have posted concerns. He said on Fox, on a separate interview on Fox, "We have to stand up. We need bold, courageous pastors that are not only going to stand on our constitutional rights to worship, but are going to stand up against the insanity of these laws that are targeting the church."
Yeah. So basically, he's the Christian Smash Mouth.
yeah. Smash Mouth did a similar concert.
Yeah, I think their official statement was F COVID.
Yeah.
This is I think a microcosm of a very large discussion that is happening within the church and has been very polarizing. And I will say this real quick, just to preface, obviously, like I said, listen, I've been friends with Sean a long time. When I actually kind of became serious about my faith when I was like 15 years old, it was largely, he had a big role in that, and so I want to say that, but I also think you can be friends with people and disagree with them about things. And this is, on a lot of political and social issues, I probably don't see eye to eye with him, and I think
and that is true. That's a good point. Cause like he's friends with like Abner from Johnny Swim, and they can be more opposite politically, but they're still friends. I mean, Sean sat in my backyard and we had disagreements about politics, and we can talk about these things and still be friends. Yeah.
But I do think I personally, and I can't speak for every Christian, but look, I think that erring on the side, well, first off, I think that the church is the body of Christ. The church isn't a building. There's nothing that ties the church to meeting in indoor spaces. Even for outdoor, gatherings, I think, you look at the first two commandments, love God and love your neighbor. Right now, it seems like scientifically all of the evidence pointing to ways that we can care for the least of these in society, or I say the least of these, people who have immune deficiencies and are of poor health, is to stop the spread of a virus that targets those people, targets people who have health conditions. And not only that, wearing masks seems to be a measure that makes a lot of difference. And I also think this kind of leads down the whole path of, conspiracies that you see floated around with Dr. Fauci or with vaccines or scientists. We're also called not to bear false witness. I see a lot of Christians willingly undertaking character assassination of people that they've never met based on things that they don't know or can't confirm are true, based on, kind of YouTube conspiracy theory videos and, memes and sort of fear mongering approaches to a public health crisis where, it seems like the best way to kind of represent the church right now isn't to make principle stands about the rights of people who are in the vast majority of this country. You Christians are still in the majority. I think it is to listen to what scientists and officials and doctors are saying that we can do to stop the spread of a disease that is really, it's killed 170,000 people, and that number is probably going to grow. And so
I think it's the third highest cause of death this year in America,
which is insane. When you really break down those numbers, there's
how fat Americans are, heart disease.
And we're only like halfway through the year. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Only August.
So, I understand the outrage that some people have at when things like this are happening,
What happens to the idea of, so if we were in Romans, right, and Paul is writing and he talks about, if meat offends my brother, I won't eat it. So it's like, it's really weird in the sense that you'll see Christians, the biggest pushback on like alcohol or marijuana or watching rated R movies or all these different things is the fact that it could cause your brother to stumble, or it could offend your brother. Like if I see you walking into that rated R action movie, it might make me want to go walk into it, and then I might shoot up people. And then there's like this crazy cause and effect idea. But the idea of wearing a mask not for the sake of you, but for the sake of not hurting my brother, like why in the world is that not the
Christians should be leading in this?
They should be leading in that. Like, okay, I might think this is way overboard, but it's just a piece of cloth, and it could. Now, and I had a conversation with someone. They were like, masks are only proven to reduce the spread by maybe less than 30%. I'm like, 30, that's a lot. Like, like that doesn't matter. It's just like, this is a deadly virus. Like, maybe we might want to just try to knock off 30% of the people that could die from it by wearing a piece of cloth. Like, I don't get why we can have this crazy theology over things that are kind of not that big of a deal. Like alcohol is not like, okay, are we going to suspend the liberty of alcohol or suspend the liberty of not wearing a mask? Like which one is the one that causes the most damage? And right now it seems maybe you may want to sacrifice your liberty of gathering for just a split second, not forever, just until the spread is slowed down. I don't really understand why that is so, besides being mastered by some sort of conspiracy theory. I don't understand why that's such a frustration, especially if, my family, we've been having church at the house, and it's been some of the most rich times I've had just teaching my kids about the scriptures. We've been doing Zoom calls with our friends and we have a Bible study every Saturday, and it's been extremely rich. So I'm like, I don't really know why people are so up in arms about this.
I just don't understand this victim mentality that so many Christians have of like, the world's against us, everybody's against us. This is religious persecution or a conspiracy to shut down the church. And then once Biden gets elected, all of a sudden COVID will go away. And like, I don't understand this like mentality. Like, where does that even come from? I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, someone at dinner, we had dinner with some people the other night, and they said, I predict in November, COVID's gone and Black Lives Matters is gone. And I was like, what?
And then you got up from the table and just owned them as friends.
Well, I did say a few things, but
Black lives don't stop mattering after December.
That's what I said, right? And so, but I think there's that idea of it's a power thing. Like, you can't tell me what to do, and if we start to do that for the good of the whole country, environment, world that we're looking at here with this global pandemic, Christians, some very conservative, right wing evangelical Christians would start to feel like this is the end of times. This is how it starts. You make me wear a mask. The next thing is I can't go to church. And the next thing is the mark of the beast. And then the next thing is we have lost all of our freedoms.
It's interesting you said the word power, because on Sunday, this past Sunday, New York Times had a op-ed or a story about this, like, people looking in from the outside are baffled why morally conservative Christian leaders support Trump so much when this guy doesn't live one lick of what you say is the standard, right? And so they did a breakdown of it. And what they determined was Trump went to the church and went to evangelical leaders and said, if you elect me, you Christians will have power.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. It was the article where he also said I could shoot someone in the street. It's the same speech where he said I could shoot someone dead in the street and my people would still follow me. And he also said, that is
Wait,
crazy.
He said those words, or they're saying he thought those things?
He said those things.
And so they're making the case that this is the thing, is like the Christians didn't have a seat at the table with the Obama administration. And so they just crave the power and the seat at the table again. And so they did everything they could to get the seat back. And so that's the thing. And like, now the power, where in the Bible did Jesus talk about that we should have political power and power over society? That's not, it's the antithesis of the Christian walk that he laid out, that per my reading. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but
I was going to say the most alarming thing about this is as the pendulum swings, when that pendulum comes back, it's going to swing really, really hard. And that's the problem is, you're not gonna, like, especially some of the right wing, like, think about it. What moral ground is Jerry Falwell gonna have to wag his finger at anybody in a really far left season? He's not gonna have any leg to stand on. Franklin, they're not gonna have a leg to stand on. Like, no one's like, why would we listen to you? You just 4 years ago was in bed with Trump, and this guy has been this and that, and now all the documentaries have come out about the corruption, and you were willingly supporting that. When that pendulum comes back to the left, it's gonna hurt. And those things you were fighting for, like the things you were fighting for, they're gonna be in massive jeopardy when that pendulum comes back, because there's gonna be no one's gonna care. They're gonna be like, we're taking all that away.
And not only that, like, well, I think there's two things. One on like a small level, just with this case, I think there's a lot of segments of modern evangelicalism that have a very narrow view of what worship is, that it's confined to musical expression, which serving your neighbor is an act of worship. Working hard for the betterment of society is an act of worship. And two, just on that point, we're called not to do public displays of prayer. Like, the Bible tells us not to do them because they're going to be perceived as pious. It says, don't be like the hypocrites do and do this in front of everyone. Go do it in private. So that way no one can accuse you of piety, which is what's happening right now. But the second thing is, Cameron, to your point, for anyone who, and this is something I've done recently, and that I feel, I would encourage people to go back and read the Beatitudes, because right there it says, no, blessed are the ones who are persecuted because of righteousness, not because who preserve righteousness. It says the meek and those who are persecuted. The other thing that, when it comes to just like the political discourse right now, I'm not to get all preachy, but this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. This comes from Proverbs, and this will be my final point. But this isn't me projecting anything. This is literally just what the Bible says. There are 6 things the Lord hates and 7 that are detestable to him. Now, when you think about these, think about just the current political climate: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. What? Those are the 7 things that God, those aren't just like a lot of Christians say, oh, all sins are equal. The Bible, that's not biblical. The Bible says there are things God detests and hates, and those ones are outlined. And if you can honestly, read those and not look at the implication of what Christians are trying to seize right now, and the means and the people that they're trying to seize them through, then I don't know how else you can. I don't know what to say. I mean, that is to Scripture. Are we supporting the things that God literally says, hey, by the way, these are setting aside? I hate them. I hate. He doesn't say he hates stirring up conflict in a community and a person who stirs up conflict in a community. I'm not saying this about Sean, because I don't believe that he is out there to create division. I honestly believe he is passionate about worship. But I do think there are people in positions of political power who this is their modus operandi. Let's stir up conflict, false witness, a rush to evil, shedding innocent blood, a lying tongue, haughty, prideful eyes. There's no other way of reading this verse,
Derek, to your point, and that was amazing. Derek, to your point though, about the pendulum, I think that's what our audience has an opportunity. We need to be mindful of this. Like the older generation has taken Christianity into a certain direction, one that seeks power and to control society, to impose their morality on others and all that kind of stuff. We, a generation coming up behind that generation, I agree with you. The pendulum will swing and not be very kind to these last few years of how the church has engaged culture. But I think there's an opportunity, because the church and society will dismiss that kind of Christianity, and it will be exposed as not Christianity. I mean, and so we have an opportunity from the ashes of that being burned to the ground, which is inevitable, to reframe and reemerge as a different kind of Christian, So to me, this is a challenge and an opportunity in the long term to just put our head down and live the way that we feel like Jesus is calling us to live, and not be swayed by the left or the right, not get swept up in political power. There was back in 2008, when Relevant, I was invited to give the benediction at the DNC. I was a pro-life Republican at the time, but it was when Obama was getting nominated. The night he was getting nominated, I was invited to give the benediction at the convention, because, we represented young Christians and stuff like that, and they were different. And I initially said yes, because they knew I was a pro-life Republican, and I thought, look at the bridge building that would show, right? So I said yes, and I got annihilated. My My parents called all their ministry leader friends, and I got annihilated by the evangelical church, which just hardened me to go, I'm doing it anyway. You know what I mean? You're not going to pressure me. You know, I'm not of you. And,
Right.
And then a mentor, Rick Warren, called me, and he said, I woke up this morning praying for you. And I just want you to know, and think about Rick's reputation. He interviews and counsels presidents. He's like the Billy Graham of this era behind the scenes. Nobody can say a negative word about Rick Warren. He called me and said, I was praying for you. And I just want you to consider this. Politics will chew you up and they will sweep you up, use you, and spit you out. You will be co-opted if you move forward with this. You will be used as a pawn for an agenda that's way bigger than you. And don't let the appeal of this opportunity or whatever you think is going on is other things are going on, and just be mindful of that. And as I pray for you, I just pray that, you know, God give you peace about your decision. And I was like, I'm out. Like I that's the reality of it, is politics wants to co-opt church leaders, use them, and then spit them out. And they don't realize how it looks to the rest of us, how they're pawns for this other political game. And they think, like, because of the power and the appeal, whatever, that, you know, they're winning. But I think that era is over, man. I mean, it's, at least it should be. And I think we have an opportunity to reframe what it looks like for believers to engage in politics and in culture. And we need to all be praying about what that looks like for the next 10 or 20 years, because, Derek, you're dead on. This is going to be exposed, and then that version of Christianity is to be burned to the ground. So.
Well, the thing is, hindsight. Oh, I was gonna say hindsight is 20/20. So there's gonna be documentaries and documented things that we're gonna be able to look back and say, just like when you look back at your old high school pictures and you were like, "Yo, what was I wearing?" Like, that's what life is gonna look like for the Christian church after this is over, because there's not going to be a Republican in office forever as far as a president, whether it's at the end of this year or 4 years from now. And what's going to happen is we're going to look back and say, dang, what was we wearing? I think that's what we're going to look like, you know?
Yeah. I think two things too is the power thing that we're talking about, and everything has gotten so, separated that you have to be in one full camp. And if you are a Republican, you cannot think critically about any view that a Democrat might say. And I think that is I hate that that's where we are. I interviewed Eugene Cho. I told you guys off air. I interviewed him, one of my favorite interviews ever. And he said that someone recently asked him, like, you know, are you liberal or conservative? And his answer was, on what issue? And I thought, that is how we think critically about things, is we go, okay, on what issue? I'm not going to align myself with the party so completely that I cannot use the brain that God gave me to care about immigration reform because I'm pro-life. And I hate seeing that so much. And the second thing I want to say about this whole conversation is whenever I get all just, you know, crazy, like I can't believe the church and Christians and all the things. I have a friend who travels a lot internationally, and she reminds me all the time, the church is alive and well, and it is not like this around the world.
That's
like
right.
Around the world, people are having conversations about how do we reach our neighbor, and how do we go to underground church today, and how do I stay alive? And I can't wait to tell people about Jesus. They're not all caught up in this mess that we see here in America. And that's encouraging to me, that the church, we don't need to be scared for the church, because she is alive and well. Absolutely. And she is doing her thing around the world.
The church in Latin America is exploding. South Asia is exploding.
Yes.
In Africa, it's exploding. And in America, it's declining.
And here we are, because we have to wear a mask.
I think I personally think every time you vote, you should hold your nose when you vote. Like, no, I'm serious. Like,
I agree.
You should be like, I am choosing, in presidential case, one of two imperfect options. Okay. Yep. And my job is to use my discernment and judgment to vote for the person that I think is going to do the greatest good. And if you're a Christian, hopefully perpetuate the kingdom of God. I'm going to do but I also know that they are flawed people and hold positions that I don't won't hold. But that means my job after I vote for someone is to hold their feet to the fire and to poke hole, to be critical and not have my identity wrapped up in what political party. Like that, when you actually think about it objectively, to think people that would say I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, I'm neither of those things. Like
Thanks.
Hopefully I would be identified as with my alignment of my faith. It is crazy to me that when you think about it objectively, that people would have their personal identity and self-worth and their worldview wrapped up in political candidates who are deeply, deeply flawed individuals. No matter what their political affiliation is. I think it's like, after you vote, then you should be extra welcoming to criticism of the person you vote for, because that's how democracy improves itself. Iron sharpens iron. When two pieces of iron bang into each other, it's hard and painful. But that's the whole idea. If you're unwilling to have your piece of iron hit by another piece, it's gonna dull, and that's what's happening. We just dulled it down to these, like platitudes that mean, we're going to give Christians power. It doesn't mean anything,
Here's the real question, Jesse. When are you opening your church? I'm ready to come to, First Jesse Church.
Well, I'll say this. We're going to be a maskless gathering. Shoulder to shoulder.
Face to face.
It's really weird. He's my
nose
bishop.
to nose.
He's my
nose.
bishop. Jesse's my bishop. I'm with it.
They greet you with a kiss on the cheek as you walk into service every morning.
Old school. A greeter right up on you.
And just FYI, I'm a registered independent and have voted for both parties since 2008. So there you go. We will wrap that up. We don't talk politics, FYI. We don't talk politics.
What?
Stay tuned. Up next, DeVon Franklin joins us.
Ice on my neck, doesn't come in. I'm a pretty boy, I'm stunning. Super speed Sonic, I'm running. Super speed Sonic, I'm running. Call me Big Papa, I'm Sonic. I spot the what she wanted. I'm a bad boy, make lovin'. I'm a bad boy, make lovin'.
You're listening to Curtis Waters featuring Harm Franklin. Song is Stunnin'. It is in heavy rotation in my house. Well, I want to let you know before we get to DeVon that today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is something preventing you from being happy or achieving your goals or keeping you from experiencing peace? With the heaviness that's all around us right now, it can be difficult to find purpose and joy, and that's why there's BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You connect in a safe and private online environment. You can start communicating in under 24 hours, and you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, and you can message your counselor anytime. To top it all off, it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a Relevant Podcast listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting BetterHelp.com/relevant. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/relevant. DeVon Franklin is a best-selling author, actor, and producer. You may know him for films like Heaven is for Real, Miracles from Heaven, and his book, The Wait. He was also recently highlighted in the news and on this podcast for his huge new TV deal with CBS. Our very own Tyler Huckabee sat down with DeVon this week to give us more details about that deal, why he wants to tell new stories about people of faith on TV, and his advice for Christian creatives who want to make an impact. Here's our conversation with DeVon Franklin.
So the first thing I want to ask you, DeVon, is it seems like this move for you is a pretty big deal. You've done a lot of movies, moving to TV, pretty big shift. Why TV? What interests you about moving to television?
From a faith standpoint, television is the final frontier. Here's what I mean by that. On the film side, we have successfully been able to get films of faith to a global marketplace. I've been successful. My good friends, the Irwin brothers, have been successful. The Kindred brothers have been successful, and so many other people that are doing this type of content have been able to, push it through the studio system and get major distribution around the world for film. However, when it comes to television, there are very few shows that are similar in tone and theme as the movies that I've been able to produce. So, the opportunity in television is to really, make progress where we can have content that in some instances, will be faith friendly, family friendly, and be able to do it through TV. Television, even though, don't get me wrong, film still is major and it has an incredible impact. When it comes to television, especially broadcast television, people turn on their TV. Like, you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to get the kids situated. You don't have to, get a babysitter. All that. You just boom, turn on the TV. So television has a major, major influence in our culture, in our community. And when you look at television being able to represent different audiences, the audience that's not represented on TV consistently is the faith audience.
We're in a real era of television glut right now where there's just so many shows to watch. I'm curious for you as somebody coming into this game and interested in making real substantive content, what do you think is going to set your shows apart? What's going to make somebody who's flipping through the channel stop on one of DeVon Franklin's shows?
And this is one thing that I am committed to in television. The quality is going to be there. Sometimes, in the world of faith, when it comes to content, it almost becomes code for, it doesn't. We don't have the production values, where but it's good for the kingdom. Well, no. I mean, look, Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel. He was the greatest artist on the planet, making the greatest art on the planet for the church. And so when it talks about the TV shows that I want to do, I want the quality to be there. From the writing, directing, the producing, the acting, the marketing. Like, I want these to be high quality commercial shows that can be as competitive as anything else out there right now.
I know you're really passionate about young people of faith getting involved in the entertainment industry. And I know a lot of people want to. A lot of people probably even listening to this want to, but they don't really know how. They don't know how to bridge the gap. Do you have any advice for people who are trying to make it in the entertainment industry, the creative industry, but just don't know how to do it?
You have to study to show yourself approved. If you want to be a writer, you have to learn how to write. It cannot, man, listen, I don't know what you're going to include in this article, but I say this with love. You can't just say, oh, the Holy Spirit told me to write this script and here it is. It's like LeBron James wouldn't be LeBron James if he just said, well, the Holy Spirit told me to play basketball. I haven't practiced a day in my life, but I'm going to get out there on the NBA stage and win. You won't win. It's the same thing in Hollywood. Yes, the Holy Spirit could have convicted you to write it, but you also have to go learn how to write a screenplay. You got to take classes. You can take them online. You got to get the right software. You got to read other scripts. If you are a director, you've got to direct. You've got to go get training. If you're a cinematographer, learn how to set up shots. Learn how, what it takes in terms of composition. If you are an actor, audit acting classes. This, to me, is the area where so many artists of faith miss it. They have the faith part down, but they don't put enough time into the works learning the business. I'm running my own company now for 5 years. I was behind the scenes for 19 years. 19 years. And I'm now running for 5. So before I even get a chance to do the thing I really wanted to do, I had to spend 19 years of learning the business, having the faith, but getting the works part right. And I see too many amazing, potentially amazing artists of faith miss it because they just go in the spirit, but they don't put process around that.
That was DeVon Franklin. To read more from that conversation, check out the interview over at relevantmagazine.com.
After the twilight, always the sunrise, but the glow of morning comes with small arms fire. Ignore the deadline, there's no divine right. Enter the gods and all the sacred signs. At the end of your life.
You're listening to Broken Bells. The song is Good Luck. Okay, we have an unprecedented decision. In the 15 years of doing this podcast, we've never skipped slices. But that first segment and conversation about politics and faith went so long and so robust that we decided that we didn't want to fly through a 2-minute slices. We just wanted to punt it to next week. Now, that said, stay tuned because in the final segment, your feedback segment, Jesse's going to bring a lightning round slice. So you don't want to miss that. But so up now, author Jennie Lusko joins us. She's an author, church planner, and co-leads Fresh Life Church with her husband, Levi Lusko. We recently sat down with her to talk about trusting God, even when you don't understand his plan, and recognizing that the journey to flourishing is often more challenging than people say. Here's part of our conversation with Jennie Lusko.
So, Jennie, tell me a little more about this book. What do you mean by a life of flourishing?
So really, honestly, throughout this whole process and before, I really feel like God has given me the opportunity to really live out this fight to flourish. And it's so messy, and it really is such a fight to do the right thing and to walk in obedience and to love people and to love the people closest to you and to be a mom and to be a wife and to try to lead in some way. It honestly feels like such a fight because I think so often flourishing can seem so unrelatable. And it's especially when we feel like we're failing. And I think that's the biggest thing I know in my heart. It's flourishing seems like such a far off thing that maybe will happen in heaven one day when I get there. But right now, it doesn't feel like I'm flourishing, but that's the problem. I feel like we're living in the wrong definition of what flourishing actually is, because maybe we feel like it's supposed to be this beautiful, flourishing garden and everything's bloomed and it's all just perfect, like a perfect garden, but we don't feel like it because of the struggle that we're in, because of the fight that we're in, because of the mess that we're living in every day that is not glamorous and not beautiful and not stunning and not amazing. But that's really the point, because everything that we're walking in and that we're struggling through and that we're fighting through is actually the very thing, the very ingredients for flourishing.
What are some of the things that hold us back from flourishing? Obviously, we all want it. Why don't we all have it?
Even in this age of Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all the things of just for me personally, I'll look and see, and everyone's house looks so beautiful and white and bright and free of mess and free of clutter. And everyone looks so happy. I follow amazing people and amazing friends, but there's so many who every picture, they're smiling like they just won the lottery and they look so happy and they're hugging their spouse and they're doing all these fun activities with their kids. And in my mind, that's flourishing. They're living they're so happy. They're living their lives beautifully and they don't have a care in the world. And like you said, it looks like they have no worries about finances or anything. But the reality is I look down at my life and I'm okay, the reality is, my son just pooped on the floor and my living room is never Pinterest worthy and photographable. And I just feel like I'm in a mess. And I feel that a lot of times in my heart too. And whether it's, the grief that we experience or the struggle that we're in, it just doesn't feel like it's even a possibility that there's even a faint possibility of flourishing right here where I'm at. But that's such a lie, because we're not meant to live perfect lives. We're not meant to to show everyone that we can do this perfectly and with smiles on our faces all the time, and with being dressed amazingly and having a thin waist and all these things. Like we can actually right here, right now, live beautifully, honoring God, like embracing the struggle to cultivate and continue to cultivate this kind of life that we were actually born to live.
So it sounds like you're saying we need to find a way to live in a balance.
People will ask me like, hey, how do you balance ministry life and family life? How do you balance your marriage and your kids? Like, and I don't see it as a balance. Like, I mean, you picture that gold old school balance where it's like, if you put heaviness on one side, then the other side is like going up. And then if you put like, you have to get it actually so perfect side to side weight wise that in order for it to fully perfectly balance. But in my mind, I see it just as like, it's not that as much as just there's pulling and there's tension. I think sometimes we can run from that feeling of like, man, this is so hard. There's so much tension between, I want to be a good wife and just fully like dote on my husband and respect him and grow with him. But then I have all these kids who need me too. And I feel pulled. If I choose my husband and go on a date with them, I'm leaving my kids behind. And what is going to happen to them if I go on a trip with my husband, or if I'm like homeschooling my kid? Like there's just that tension. And what I found is if you can kind of embrace the difficulty of it and the tension, that's where you can trust God the most. And I think that's the biggest thing, is learning to trust God in it all.
That was Jennie Lusko. To read the rest of that conversation, you can also head over to relevantmagazine.com. Stay tuned. Up next, it's your feedback and Jesse's lightning slice.
Try Jesus. Please don't try me, because I'm fine. I know what he said about getting slapped, but if you touch me or mine, we gon' have to scrap. So try Jesus. Please don't try me.
You're listening to Tobe Nwigwe featuring Jabari Johnson. The song is Try Jesus.
Don't try me,
because I'll throw hands. I love that song.
Throw hands, buddy. I'll let you know.
This is great. Okay, so I told you mid-show, for the first time in 15 years, we skipped slices. So I don't even know what to do with myself. But Jesse asked, please, can he bring a lightning slice before we get to your feedback? So here we go. Jesse, take it away.
Okay. I was on Twitter last night. Obviously, I follow David Blaine. He posted 3 images last night, and the guys, looks like 2020 is taking a turn. They are 3 images of a bunch of balloons floating up through the clouds. And as we were recording this very podcast, he tweeted this. Okay. Let's turn worry into wonder and take magic to new heights. David Blaine Ascension, August 31st, only on YouTube Live. Guys, David Blaine's going to take a bunch of balloons out of the atmosphere. He's going to float our cares away in an act of YouTube magic that involves balloons.
Okay, so Jamie,
can we send him our cares?
I'm with it.
Things are turning a corner, Jamie.
I'm with it.
Jamie and Derek don't realize Jesse's long-standing fascination with David Blaine and stuff. So,
guys,
David Blaine is obviously I follow David Blaine. I was like, dang, that wasn't real obvious to me, but you know, it is what it is.
It should be. It should be.
David Blaine has 7 followers, and 6 of them are Jesse's burner accounts.
Yo.
All right. It is time for your feedback. 2 weeks ago, man, this show is just always, you don't know what you're going to get every week. We had to skip feedback last week. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about aliens and how the news is essentially now, or the government is essentially now confirming the existence of UFOs. And we brought an astrobiologist and minister onto the show to talk about this. So we asked you, what do you think about aliens? You guys hit us up on Twitter at Relevant Podcast, and you also messaged us on Instagram at Relevant Magazine. Here are a few of our favorite replies.
Titus said, Titus says, it would certainly complicate my faith. However, I'm confident that NT Wright will be able to figure out how we can respond with this forthcoming book, Surprised by Green Men.
Dang.
I would read it. I would read it.
Doug Oden said, I'm for anything that doesn't place me or humanity at the center of the universe. If God loved aliens, maybe we could think of ourselves a little less, and that would be a very good thing. I think Doug was listening to our segment earlier in the show today about maybe it's not about me-centered Christianity.
Ryan had a couple of interesting thoughts on it. But he references an article he's read about it, about would aliens have access to salvation, or do they even need it? And he said one thing that he had read when someone was kind of pontificating about this was that Jesus says that he has other sheep not of this fold, which we assume refers to Gentiles in the New Testament there. But the article asked, what if Jesus was actually referring to extraterrestrials?
Princess Librarian said, OMG, you guys! How could Jesse be the only one excited about the confirmation of alien studies by the government? Jesse,
I like how you read it in that voice.
You don't sound that way.
Princess Librarian.
I'm sure you don't sound like that. But Princess,
I was as shocked as you, Princess. Shocked as you.
Jesse, if you get access, please ask them about maps. I would like to know about extraterrestrial mapping. And would catalog if asked. Happy to send CV. Really, we really need some extraterrestrials to work on Apple Maps. Like, no lie. Maps. I'm sure if they could work all the way from Mars to here, they could figure out how to get from my home to around the corner without rerouting 12 times. So, yeah.
A lot of people kind of brought up the question of, the fact that there would be other life in God's creation, not shaking my faith, but what does that mean for the soul / eternal implications? Like, do they need to be saved, or are they just, kind of soul like a dog? Are they animals or something? That would be the question, be the spiritual question. And several people kind of brought up that line of thinking.
But no one, I think that line of thinking is interesting because no one ever asked that about alien or about angels. You know what I'm saying? Like, angels are living creatures that are...
But they're already in heaven.
We read about them in the Bible, too.
Not all of them.
I mean, true, but we read about...
Angels can fall, right?
We read about the fallen angel and angels, but we don't read about extraterrestrial people in the Bible, which is what stresses people out.
I guess the thing that I'm saying is, okay...
Or allegedly.
A third of the angels fell out of heaven, right?
Right.
Is that it? There are not any more, no more angels fell ever again? Right? So that's we don't, it's clear that angels have free will and choice.
But they have angel marriages and angel babies.
Oh my gosh, this is
what I'm saying. The rabbit hole gets so much deeper.
They do procreate in the time before the time before the flood. Jamie, a quick question for you. You've had a lot of discussions about aliens since this was first brought up on this show. Now, when it comes to the theological implications,
hold on, I'm still back to angels. So Genesis 6, they procreate.
They procreate. They procreate with. So there was a group of demons who lusted after the daughters of men.
No, they were angels at the time. They weren't demons.
And what are they called?
They were watchers. They were watchers.
And their offspring was a half breed of angel and man called the Nephilim.
That's right. Yeah.
And a lot of Christians believe that is part.
Monsters.
Well, they were also the giant. Like when Joshua and the spies go and say the land was occupied by giants and we were like grasshoppers to them. They say the Nephilim, the offspring of these angel human hybrids were giants that maybe had powers, and that's what prevented the Israelites from first taking the promised land. And there's also other thoughts that at one point they got out of control, and that's why it was part of the reason for the flood. There's a lot of theories with that.
It's also the perspective of even in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, that the big issue wasn't necessarily sodomy, as far as the people wanting men, but they wanted the angels because they wanted to do the same thing that happened pre-flood, right? So the idea is, and then also the angels in Genesis 6 aren't the third that fell out of the sky. It's not the third that rebelled. This was a different group of watchers that were supposed to, there ideally were the people that were watching over humanity. And instead of just watching over humanity, they said, hey, we're going to, let's procreate with humanity. So that's the thing. Like, we don't really, I don't even think we have a perspective. I don't even think we have a perspective on what the Bible says about angels and their souls. What is that? You know, how can you fall from grace if you were made, like if you're an angel, right? They felt like clearly angels are falling from grace. So I'm like, how does that?
So they have the will to choose that.
They seem to.
It would seem, because you have a third that fell out of the sky. Then you also have these watchers that left their post and said, we're going to procreate with humanity. How does an angel, in our mind, angels can't procreate at all, right? Well, so I don't think we have a robust, I'll put it this way. I think which is really crazy, because a lot of European Western Christianity think we know everything about the Bible. But when you start diving in and critically thinking and asking questions outside of, you know, can we drink alcohol or not? Then you got to
black water.
A lot of problems.
I know it's very interesting to go down a rabbit hole and talk about, are we being visited by spiritual beings who have returned to the earth repeated times throughout the Bible, and there are seriously end times implications. But guys, we got to wear a mask if we go to the grocery store. Don't you think we should worry about that? Jamie, real quick, before, I know we're running late. Have you guys, I know you've been talking to aliens. Have you guys even broached like, hey, how does this affect? How does this add up?
With my family?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've asked everybody. I was with my entire extended family this weekend at a river house. And guys, a lot of us just, our brains don't care and we can't comprehend it. Like, you know, it's just like, listen, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but you know, I got to figure out how to get my kids to do school and me work at the same time. I can't think about aliens right now. But when I did bring up, well, how does that change? Does it change anything about our faith? Then everyone went, oh, I don't know. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's so much.
It's a spicy
you better know.
I'm stuck on this angel thing. I don't know.
Well, hey, if anyone's
I'm more stuck on that than I am aliens.
Well, listen, Dallas Willard actually has written about this, and where, you know, the Bible talks about other gods. Like, not, you know, there are hierarchies of, again, this isn't me. This is, you can read Dallas Willard's talk, you know, there are literally spiritual powers. There's hierarchies to, you know, spirituality, and other gods are mentioned in the Bible. And, you know, metaphorically, but also spiritually. And
right, what but like no other gods before me. I mean, like, that's a repeated thing.
Not only that, but he appointed gods over areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's he? God.
God, he said, this is your area, that's your area.
To other gods? Area.
Yes. And he said, I'm going to grab Israel for myself, and I'm going to make a fool out of y'all with the weakest nation.
So maybe the other gods are over other planets, over aliens. Maybe
there
that's
can't be more than one God.
There's a Most High. That's why he's called the Most High. But there are other gods in the sense that an angel's more powerful than you. To you,
like
that
a little G God.
To you, that is a God, little G God. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, because he says, "Have no other gods before me," but he also calls himself not just the King of Kings, but he also refers to himself as the Lord of Lords.
The Lord of Lords. He's the Most High.
You know, there are, again, I'm probably butchering it, but there is John Mark Comer has written about this, and so is Dallas Willard, and they're way better theologians than I am.
The thing that is crazy to me, if you grew up in the American church, the version of God that you were taught is not the God of the Bible. I mean, it just isn't. The God of the Old Testament, the true God. I mean, Jesus is teaching. I mean, we just weren't taught this. We were taught little felt figure stories, and we were taught morality. We were taught morality, right? And then, Jesus, simple kind of gospel road stuff. But we weren't wrestling with the stuff the Bible actually talks about. You know what I mean? Like, it's foreign to us.
I'm going to need you to send me the book about the little G gods.
I will.
It's Amazon.com.
Tell me the name of it. It's what I mean.
I'll have to look.
I don't need you to buy it for me.
Yeah.
Here's a scripture in the English Standard Version. So it just depends on what you would call the sons of God. Most of the time when you see sons of God in the scriptures, it refers to angels or to some sort of spiritual being, angel or whatever. But the English Standard, Deuteronomy 32:8, it says, when the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of people according to the numbers of the sons of God. Most of the time, sons of God means angel when you look at it. So that is the scripture that people would use to talk about that.
But wouldn't a lot of people refer to that as like we're all the children of God, and so the sons of God would be like humanity?
That's the English. That's the English understanding of ancient Hebrew writing. But when you dig in, there's a lot of interesting thoughts about this. But yeah, it is largely ignored.
I've never heard this in my entire life.
Contemporary evangelical,
I told you, Jesse, we need to do a podcast, bro. I'm trying to tell you.
My Baptist high school didn't teach me this stuff either, so don't worry about it. All right, well, so there's your feedback about aliens. There you go. So now I have so many more questions, but Jesse already teed up this week's question, so it's time for do not reply about rock monsters, angel babies, or any of the stuff we just talked about. The question of the week this week is, what old school sitcom would you want to see rebooted as a gritty drama? A Christopher Nolan version of a campy sitcom. So hit us up on Twitter at Relevant Podcast, or you can message us on Instagram at Relevant Magazine, or you can comment on the podcast post on our feed. Man, my mind's still spinning about the angel babies. But all right,
it's a whole.
What a day! What a day!
What a day, guys!
My afternoon's shot. All right, maybe next week we'll get back into that. Many thanks to DeVon Franklin for joining us. You can follow him on Instagram at DeVon Franklin, and also thanks to Jennie Lusko. You can find out more about her book, Fight to Flourish, on her website, and follow her on Instagram at Jennie Lusko. And on that note, my head's still spinning. We will wrap it up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Jamie Ivey.
And I'm a weirdo.
Yeah. Man, Derek, ever since you came on the podcast, we've gotten into way more theological discussions than we did in 15 years prior to this. I love it. I am here for it.
Let's get it.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, check out our Relevant Podcast Network, featuring shows like Relevant Daily, Signs of Life, Unedited, and many more launching throughout the year.
I'm just worried about God getting hurt.
Relevant Podcast Network.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care. Go to Dutch.com to get vet care that is always there for just $92 a year.